was 2025 and WWE had just done the unthinkable. John Cena has finally turned heel. A moment so surreal, so unbelievable that it left the entire wrestling world in shock. For years, fans begged for it, speculated on it, and waited for the day that WWE could finally pull the trigger, but they just never did up until now. So now the question is, why now? What changed? Where was the moment that led to this John Cena heel turn to happen? Well, in this video, I have all the answers for you, and it's all going to be broken down into 3 different chapters. Hola, everyone, my name is Nando. I drop videos every single Monday. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get into this. Chapter 1, The Unbreakable Hero. Why John Cena never turned heel. So like I mentioned, it's been over a decade for this to happen. A time where wrestling fans had begged WWE to turn John Cena heel. Every time it felt like they were going to pull the trigger, they just always backed out of it. But like why? Why did WWE refuse to take their biggest star and create a potential generational run with him? Well, the answer sadly boils down to 3 major reasons: business, branding, and unpreparation. From 2005 all the way to mid-2010s, John Cena was WWE's guy. He was an unstoppable machine that was selling more merch than anyone. The moment he walked into the arena, kids were screaming. The parents were buying tickets to have their kids see him. He was a mixed bag for many people for sure, but his key audience, aka the children, were a big factor in having him stay as a babyface. Turning John Cena heel during that time would have been seen as a big financial gamble. To WWE, turning him heel would be a great risk at hand. Merch sales would drop, and kids wouldn't have a role model to look after. And honestly, they weren't completely wrong for having that mindset. Unlike guys like Stone Cold or The Rock, whose edgier personas helped them become the megastars that we know them today, but remember, it was a different time back then. Things were edgier back then while WWE was heading towards the PG era, an era where they wanted to be suitable and watchable to kids and sponsorships alike. And who's the guy that can fit that role in projecting that new era than the freaking adult who wears bright colored armbands and shirts and jean shorts to his matches? Yeah, exactly. It was inevitable to happen. But here's the thing, there was a moment where WWE was actually considering on pulling the trigger on the John Cena heel turn. It wasn't just a random idea thrown around in a meeting, it was real, it was planned, and it was almost set in motion. Because during John Cena's first feud with The Rock, they were rummaging around about John Cena turning heel. John Cena would say in an interview with Chris Van Vliet that he had new music prepared. Hustle, loyalty, respect, love. They'd even made new gear for him. 8 singlets in different color that would have the words "Fear My Name" on the front. We can actually see a preview of this as he's worn one of the singlets on an episode of Total Divas. And oh dear Lord, this looks cursed. John Cena even pitched the idea of not being allowed to sell his own merch or even stop his program with the Make-A-Wish to sell the gimmick. He was really all into this. But sadly, Vince wasn't. The moment WWE realized how deep they were with John Cena's PR and his commitments, they backed out entirely. John Cena had become bigger than just a WWE wrestler. He had become a symbol, a brand, an ambassador for the company. Turning him heel wasn't just about a storyline shift. It was a complete business risk. Then you have the second main factor with his branding, to which I had brought up earlier, and that's with his partnership with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He literally has a record for doing the most Make-A-Wishes in history. Like honestly, with that kind of PR, how could you trigger a heel turn at that point? He's visiting sick kids and telling them to never give up. Now imagine how those kids would feel if John Cena were to make some promo where John Cena basically wants nothing to do with his fans.
I'm breaking up with you. I'm done.
Well, okay then. And that leads us to the biggest issue of all, WWE's complete lack of preparation. By 2011 and 2012, John Cena had been the face of WWE for nearly 7 years. At that point, WWE should have just been uplifting and showcasing the next top guy, but instead, they failed and failed again. They didn't want CM Punk, they certainly didn't want Daniel Bryan, and no matter how much WWE tries to rewrite history and tell you this moment was part of the plan, it wasn't. They need to stop lying. The truth is, WWE didn't want an organically made star. They wanted to manufacture one from the ground up. And that's where we transition to the big dog.
The big dog's not gonna win. The big dog! the big dog. The big dog.
Chapter 2, The Manufactured Star, WWE's failed and successful Roman Reigns experiment. From the moment the Shield broke up, WWE desperately tried to position Roman Reigns as the next face of the company. He had the look, the athleticism, and the backing of WWE higher-ups. Hell, Roman was part of the Shield because Triple H had suggested him, but there was just one big issue. The fans rejected it. They didn't just dislike him, they despised him. When the Shield broke up, Seth and Dean Ambrose both changed their looks, their gimmicks, and their theme songs. Roman? Well, he kept the theme song, he kept the clothes, and he kept the entrance? What? That in itself is a problem because you're showing how everyone in the Shield has grown up except for Roman Reigns. He was no longer a person, he was a toy being manufactured. They made him wear contact lenses to be more marketable. They made him win the Rumble, and they made him in so many WrestleManias because that was how desperate they were to have him be that top guy in the company. They tried copy and pasting the same formula that I had with John Cena on a guy who was nowhere near ready to be at the top. It shows that even Cena knew he wasn't ready.
Congratulations. It took you 5 years to cut a halfway decent promo, but now I'm about to shrink you down to size. They see what I see. A cheap-ass, corporately created John Cena bootleg.
And yes, wrestling is scripted and predetermined, but look at the promo he did with Austin Theory. He was programmed to put over Austin Theory as this new top star in their WrestleMania program, but John Cena would instead overexpose every issue about Austin Theory as to why he's not taken as seriously. Saying he sucks, nobody believes him, nor really cares about him. Then you know what John Cena did afterwards in that feud? Yeah, nothing! He never showed up again until WrestleMania because that's how less he thought of Theory. There was no trust because Cena knew that Theory had no identity, and that's the same thing that Roman had been exposed for by Cena. But in 2020, everything changed. Not just for Roman Reigns, not just for his career, but it changed WWE entirely. For years, WWE had followed the same formula: protect the face of the company at all costs. The top guy had to be a superhero, an untouchable role model who could never turn heel. And then the pandemic hit. With uncertainty gripping the world and WWE forced to operate without a live audience, the company entered a survival mode. They had to adapt. They had to experiment. This was an era where anything could happen because in the first time in decades, WWE wasn't catering to a live crowd. They were producing a TV show in a controlled environment. Roman Reigns, due to his past battles with leukemia, chose to step away from WWE, prioritizing his health until he felt the time was right for him to return. And when he did return, he wasn't coming back as the same Roman Reigns. No. He was ready to take control. With WWE in an experimental phase, Roman saw the perfect opportunity. His babyface run had been directionless, his character had been rejected, and for the first time, he had enough pull in the company to pitch something that would have been unthinkable in any other era. He wanted to turn heel. Not just a slight attitude shift, not just a darker version of himself, it was a complete reinvention. And in this unpredictable pandemic era, an era where WWE was willing to take risks just to keep things fresh, they finally listened. When Roman Reigns returned at SummerSlam 2020, he wasn't the humble warrior fans had known him for. He was cold, he was calculating, he was ruthless. Within weeks, he had aligned himself with Paul Heyman, won the Universal Champion literally in 6 days after he returned, and he wasn't really in the match at all. The Fiend and Braun literally wrestled for 95% of the match, and Roman just came in, signed his contract to enter himself in the match, and then won the belt. Crazy politicking. And when he won the belt, he had proclaimed and declared himself as the tribal chief. For a whole year and more, he had a character that was original and helped carry the company on his back through an entire 2 eras on his own. They made a gamble on making their top face of the company a heel, and that gamble made them a big profit. Roman was more beloved, yet that aura that always sent chills down people's spines whenever his music hit, because that's how Roman perfected his presentation. He's been dominating the merch sales for years. He was a draw and was able to lead a storyline regarding his whole bloodline tree for a whole 5 years and made the world champion mean something again. That's freaking dedication and excellence. And just a side note about the bloodline. Dear Lord, I hope we're taking a break from this now. Like, I enjoyed it for the most part, but let's have Roman do something on his own without regarding a title or family member, please. And with the run he had, a decision that would seem like a risk at the time had turned into a gold mine. And that's where I believe that his run had inspired a chain reaction that led us here. Chapter 4, The Final Trigger. John Cena's long-awaited heel turn. March 1st, 2025, John Cena had turned heel on Cody Rhodes to align himself with The Rock and Travis Scott for some reason. And this was a moment that had left John Cena more comfortable to do this because of two main key factors. One, he's no longer the face of the company. Cody Rhodes is, and he's doing one hell of a job being that guy for WWE. And WWE, after seeing what Roman did, finally realized something. The world doesn't end if their biggest stars embrace the dark side. In fact, it could be exactly what they need. And that realization, it didn't just influence Cena, I believe it influenced The Rock as well. For years, The Rock had built his Hollywood career from being someone that was larger than life. The unstoppable force, the perfect man, the megastar. He literally has a contract that states that he can't lose fights in his movies, which is so stupid because movies are fictional and not to be taken seriously in real life. But then something happened. The fans turned on him. The moment he stepped back into WWE and tried to take Cody Rhodes' spotlight and having his World Champion match against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, it left the people rejecting him. And instead of forcing the fans to love him, The Rock embraced it. He chose to turn heel because he knew this hate would turn into something profitable. Because while yes, The Rock had played a heel Hollywood character before and got over with it, The Rock is a completely different person now. He is still Dwayne Johnson with a brand, and I feel that Dwayne was in the same business mind as Vince with John Cena. Turning heel would be a complete damage to his PR, and hey, if you think that opinion is far-fetched, that's okay. But remember, he literally has a contract where he does not want to lose fights in movies. Rock, movies are fictional. Grow up. But that's where The Rock saw what Roman did. He saw how it worked. And The Rock was probably more comfortable doing a heel turn due to the media already knowing that WWE is a scripted sport and the characters that portray on TV isn't how they are in real life. I would know this because he won't stop going on WWE media scrums and talking about how practically fake and scripted the sport is. Stop it, Rock. It's annoying. And again, The Rock really needed this too because he had to find a way to drive the heat away from the fact that he tried to politic his way into booking the DC Universe his way with Black Adam, and it bombed right at his face. And to be honest, he deserved it. And of course, we have to give the credit to Triple H as well for his role in the booking process. But with The Rock's position TKO, he had significant power and influence over WWE's creative decision and directions. Even if the criticism over him taking Cody's spot had continued, he had the power to ignore the backlash and push forward with his own vision. Instead, he chose to listen, crafting a story that not only benefited him, but also elevated Cody Rhodes into the rightful face of the company. A guy that WWE and the fans both wanted to lead the company. But none of this, in my opinion, would have truly not been possible without Roman Reigns. His dominance over the past few years and breaking the barrier for future superstars that could have his or Cody's position in the company has set the foundation for this moment, proving that his 2020 heel turn was the true catalyst for everything that had followed. And that's all I have for you folks. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. I read and reply to everyone. Follow all my socials. Subscribe now as I make videos once every week. Stay tuned. Goodbye and acknowledge.